The first story that we're tracking on the show, viewers, reports indicate that White House, which is hosting Russian President Vladimir Putin on the 15th of August, may also, in fact, host a Ukrainian president. Now, 15th of August is when the Alaska summit will be held. That's the key summit where there's expectation of some sort of a breakthrough in the Russia-Ukraine war. It's been grinding on for 3 long years, over 3 years actually. Donald Trump said that he's going to end it in 24 hours. He hasn't been able to do so. He's trying now for an Alaska summit. Will he get the two parties, both the parties on board? Russian President Vladimir Putin is said to be there. Will the Ukrainian president also come to the Alaska summit is the key question. There's been a lot of hesitation from Donald Trump's side, but his European allies were wanting that he should invite the other party as well. The US appears to be seriously considering Russia's concerns. For the very first time, this is being thought about, that what Russia has been saying all along in terms of the specific threats it has faced and the reason why it feels this war it had to start. Donald Trump is actually paying heed to that. Let's move ahead. Let's tell you the other important aspect. No truce unless the deal suits Russia's interest. Now, this is something that is almost beginning to look like that this is favoring the Russian side. Will that be the case? And in that situation, will a deal actually take place is the key question. Let's move ahead and tell you the other aspect. Unlikely that Russia will compromise due to economic pressure. Now, there's been a lot of talk about how Russian oil, is going to get sanctioned. Donald Trump, of course, is a man known for contradictions and man known for hyperbole more than anything else. He's said a lot about, Russian oil. Will he go ahead and probably put more sanctions? Could that mean that Vladimir Putin will agree? The answer to that looks like no. The other aspect, secondary sanctions as leverage to get Russia to negotiate. Could that be something that both men will talk about? And could that lead to some sort of a breakthrough and a ceasefire? We'll get to know that in just a minute. In fact, in just a couple of days, actually, because, let's not forget that while 15th August is a very important date in the Russia-Ukraine timeline, the Russian economy, the Russian war machinery and the Russian president have held out. They've held out for 3.5 years. Arm twisting, many feel may work, but may not. Deadlock continues as Ukraine, Russia don't budge. Let's get you the other aspect. Why is it that Alaska is actually the reason why this summit is taking place there? Now, the historical significance of this meeting is important. Next up, now Russia actually sold US Alaska in 1867, which is another very important reason why. Remember, there's a lot of hesitation from the Russian president's side to not travel to American territory, which is why Alaska fits the bill in the middle. Next up, it's proximity to Russia, the rich history that it shares in terms of a lot of deep connects and historical cultural linkages to Russia is the reason why Vladimir Putin is coming to Alaska. Lastly, it is strategically located in the Arctic location where Russia is actually a far bigger player than the US is the reason why Alaska is the reason why it's actually taking place. Next up and lastly, let's get you the big questions that we are putting out on the show, and then we get in our guest joining us on this, which is first and foremost, will Ukraine be included in these negotiations? I spoke about it at the beginning of the show, but will that actually happen? Next up, let's quickly take that. Are territorial swaps on the table? There's been a lot of territory that has exchanged hands. Could territory swapping really be the big possible way to end this? Next up, what kinds of security guarantees will Ukraine receive? Will there actually be any security guarantees? Donald Trump has said, no, you got to pay for your own security. And that's really been the reason why this war has been continuing. Will that change? Lastly, how will EU and NATO factor into these discussions? Well, that's a question that most of EU and NATO also is looking, hopefully, to get some answers to. They don't have it because Donald Trump feels that he doesn't want anybody else to be part of these negotiations except the two men. Will that be a reason why this may not happen? Let's get in our guest joining us, Mr. Mark Murray, joining us live to talk more on this. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Let me start by first asking you, in fact, let me go back and ask you this question, which is that in terms of your expectations to end this war, the summit is extremely important, but are you keeping tempered expectations?
Reservations from the very outset. Because first things first, Mr. Putin is looking to come in from the cold. He is an international pariah in more ways than one. And the summit affords him optics of being seen at the world stage as a global player again, which is what he's always wanted and coveted, a summit and meeting directly with President Trump. Of course, we are talking about a KGB intelligence officer who has the measure of Trump, which can't be said vice versa, as Mr. Trump himself has expressed personal exasperation in the last few weeks that he cannot fathom Mr. Putin. Well, the rest of us certainly fathom what he wants, namely reducing Ukraine to a vassal state like Belarus, and that his so-called claims that Ukraine would be a threat are anything but true. If anything, what Mr. Putin is looking for is biding time to regroup and attack Ukraine again in the not too near future. Russian casualties as we speak are running at 1,072 a day. And they've already crossed, in terms of casualties, both civilians and soldiers, about 1 million since the onset of the war. It is true, Ukraine is being depleted even heavily as such. The Russians have made some progress in the last month of capturing 225 square miles, which has come at a considerable cost. The point is that it is also recruiting, that is, Moscow is recruiting 9,000 more men each month as it loses. And Mr. Zelenskyy, for his part, has reduced the conscription age to 25. But that has not helped because Ukraine's demographics work against its favor. But then so does Russia's economy, as Russian economists have warned Mr. Putin. They are running a deficit of 45.3 billion pounds this year, which is a hike of over that is approximately 4.88 trillion rubles. So it is not exactly going swimmingly for Mr. Putin as such, though he is fanatically hell-bent on his aims of reducing Ukraine to a vassal state.
All right, we leave it there. Barzin Wagmar of SOAS, South Asia Institute, University of London, joining us live from London to talk about what could possibly be the best possible outcome as far as the Russia-Ukraine summit that's scheduled for 15th of August. The ranting that Pakistan has and the Army Chief has been saying, where he recently, can you believe it, he actually spoke about a nuclear war from American soil. He had actually gone there. It was a black tie event. Imagine a black tie event where you have Pakistani Army Chief going and saying and talking about a nuclear threat, saying that I'm going to blow up half the world if something happens to Pakistan. Now, it's laughable at so many levels. He'd actually gone there for a farewell. And this is the kind of messaging he comes out with. These remarks were the first nuclear threats that were thrown and that were actually known to have ever been delivered from US soil against a third country. As I said, one can either dismiss it as a rant from the Pakistani Army Chief, or if one were to decode it, you can understand the sinister play that Pakistanis really are looking at. Let's get in my colleague Mohammad Ghazali joining us live for more on this. Now, Ghazali, as we've been telling our viewers, imagine a black tie event where it's a farewell event where you've actually gone, and what you come out and talk about is a nuclear threat on American soil against a third country. This is what the Pakistani Army Chief has actually said. What are your sources telling you about Asim Munir's latest rant?
See, first it is very ironical, Gauri, that it has come from American soil, the same America which kept threatening Iran that Iran should not develop a nuclear weapon, and there was a 11-day war over it. But besides that, it particularly shows one thing. The Pakistani sources claim that perhaps Mr. Munir is also sort of looking himself or elevating himself in a sense to be the Prime Minister candidate or the presidential candidate in Pakistan. He also remarked He also made a remarks there saying that perhaps the security and politics should not be left aside and it should not be just left to the politicians. But besides that, he made some very anti-India rabid remarks, the same juggler vein remarks which he made before the Operation Sindoor in an event in US, and yet again back in Pakistan, and the same kind of remarks that will take down half the world if we are at threat. We can manage India with 10 missiles and we have plenty of missiles, and also trying to boast of the relations between US and Pakistan as far as the security is concerned.
All right, we leave it there. Mohammad Ghazali joining us live.